that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review charged by BoardGameExchange.com. You know, it's only board game rental website. Today, I'm very excited to be checking out Adventure of D from Jack Darwin Games. This is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and it'll take you about 30 minutes to play if you're solo, and it'll add about another 30 minutes for each additional player you have. But in the Adventure of D, you will be adventuring around a magical land, trying to build up your strength and eventually have enough strength and enough power to go to the castle and kill the bad guy. Sound like a typical fantasy tale? There's a lot in this box. Let's check it out and see how it plays. Alright, so we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside the Adventure of D into this tiny little box. First and foremost, you're going to get this giant rule booklet. It is 16 pages, double-sided. It has plenty of examples, though, which will help you figure out the game. But it is definitely a wonky rule booklet. It's a little bit confusing to understand the first couple times you play, but the game is really simple. Once you get to know it, it's just, you know, back your hand kind of stuff. But you're going to get your handy-dandy rule booklet. Next, I'm going to mention you don't actually get this pawn in here. This is what I'm going to use to do the solo game I'm about to play. You actually, what you're supposed to do is cut out these little pieces and then tape them together and use these guys as pawns, which would look really cool, but, you know, I don't know how I would fit them back in the box, and it seems like it's way too much effort, and then I won't get it back in the box, and I'll be frustrated. But if you have young kids, they actually probably would really love playing with these, because they actually do look kind of neat to be able to play with these. Be like, hey, we're going to this and that. But anywho, getting off on a tangent. I want to forewarn you, this game is pretty complex. There's a lot to go over. There's a lot of meat on this game, so I'm not actually going to be able to go over everything. I'm just going to give you a real loose synopsis of how the game is played. So, there's 3 kinds of cards you're going to get. You're going to get your hero cards right here. You're going to be picking out one of your heroes, and you got your typical wizards, your knights, your elves, your dwarves. This is a fantasy game, obviously. Your ninjas, which don't really make me think fantasy too much, but I'm not going to complain about ninjas in a game ever. Priest, thief, merchant, hobbit, gladiator, druid, all sorts of different things. And you're going to pick out one, and you are going to get their special ability. Their special ability will be at the bottom. So you got the merchant. It says more profit. Every time you defeat a shadow, you get an additional 2 magic, which doesn't mean much to you, but we'll get into that in a second. So you pick out your character, and you're going to notice that there's little symbols on the side. You got your pink, your yellow, and your blue, which will represent different things. What you're going to use those for are measuring out the strength of that attribute. So you're going to have 3 of these little cards. Actually, I have 4. I lied because I'm a liar. You're going to have 4 of these, and these are how you're going to keep track of how high you are on that attribute. It's a very unique system that I really like, and I really think more games should take up. So let's just pretend that this guy has no strength in pink. He's got 2 in yellow, and he's got 1 in blue, but he levels up, and he decides to level up his yellow. So now he's got 3 in yellow and 1 in blue. So, really cool concept there. But as you can see, you're going to be flipping them around and moving them around, and that's how your character is going to look. But it's not going to be easy to get those because you're going to have to go around the Magic Kingdom, which is right here. I think Magic Kingdom is trademarked, so obviously it's not the Magic Kingdom. But these are going to be your location cards, and these are going to be switched every time you play. You're just going to randomly set them out in this grid like this. So sometimes the Tower of Death, which is over here, might be right next to the Castle of Light, and sometimes it might be here and there. You get the point. But each special location is going to have its own unique attribute. So let's see. This is the Great Chasm. It's got a danger level of 1, and you may not move to the Great Chasm. Deal with it. What that means is it's essentially there to block you. However, if you have a special power on one of the special characters, they can go through the Great Chasm without having, they can go through it, which is pretty useful if it's in certain spots. Over here we got the Village of Dew. This says if you discard 2 pink, 2 yellow, or 2 blue, you can teleport to another location, because teleporting is going to be extremely useful in this game. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. But anywho, you're going to have different locations that do different things. Some will help you level up and all sorts of other different things. But when you start the game, you're going to take your pawn, which could be these or it could be this guy. You're going to start on the Castle of Light. It has a 0 danger. This is going to be your home base, so to speak. What you're attempting to do in this game is level your character up enough in one of these blue, yellow, or pink attributes up to the level 5. Once you get to 5, then you can try to go to the Tower of Death, which is obviously where the bad guy likes to hang out, and you can try and go through all the rooms and win the game. It's It's a lot harder than it sounds, though. So let's see. One thing I forgot to mention is this is for your magic, because you will be using and gaining magic in this game. And you just put that underneath there, and you would have 8 magic, or 1 magic, or 2 magic, etc., etc. So to start the game off, you're going to get 8 of these cards. These cards are crazy cards. Let me just say, I don't think I have ever seen a more busy card in my life. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I love how much game is crammed into this box. It's ridiculous. Now you're saying it doesn't look like that's crammed, and then you're like, what is going on this card? Actually, what is going on this card? This card is insane. There's so much on here. Well, let's go over real quick what's on the card. These cards are going to be used for a variety of different purposes. They're going to be used as events. They're going to be used as cards in your hand. They're going to be used as health. If you flip them over, they can be used as items. They're going to be used as your attack power. There's just crazy amounts of stuff you're going to be using this card. So let's pretend that this card is in your hand. If this card is in your hand, all you need to focus on are these numbers right here. You got your 5 shadow right here, and you got your 1 blue strength right there. That's all you need to focus on. That's how much power you're going to have. However, if this comes out as an event, then you're going to flip it over and you're going to say, hey, okay, this goes to the Castle of Light, which is right here. And then, if you choose to, you can do the special action, which is a javelin throw challenge. If you win, well, then you get to discard this event and get an item. And the item, well, flip it over and now it's the item. Then it becomes a red scroll, which you can use to teleport back to the Castle of Light. Wow, a lot on there. Up on the corner, you're going to see the danger of an area. One thing I mentioned earlier is these cards that are in your hand are going to count as your health. So if you're in a solo game and you run out of cards, well, then you are dead. But normally, you're not going to run out of cards because you're just going to say, all right, I'm going to rest before that happens. Because when you rest, you get to go back up to a certain number of cards. How do you figure out how many cards you go up to? It depends on how dangerous of an area you are, which is a unique thing that I really do like. So let's say I end my turn on the Castle of Light, which has a danger of 0. So if I start, if I played, I'm down to 1 health / 1 card in my hand, and I stop at the Castle of Light, well then guess what? I will get to draw back up to 8 cards. However, if I'm here at the Tower of Death, which has 4, that means I'm only going to get 4 cards. Or it's likewise with the Woods of Mana. I'll only get 4 cards, which means my next turn I'm going to be hindered already. Because one thing I forgot to mention is when you move, it's not just, oh, I'm going to go here to, no. You can't just do that, because when you move, let's say I go from the Castle of Light to the Garden of Mushrooms, you are going to have to discard a card, which is going to hurt you. Also, well, you're going to have to spend the card. And how this works is you're going to potentially be fighting the Shadow Beast on there. So you're going to draw another card, and if that card is, it's all going to depend on your danger zone. If you're in a higher danger zone, then obviously you have more of a chance of having to fight the Shadow Beast. But if you successfully fight the Shadow Beast, then you gain magic. It's all really complex when you first start, but trust me, the more you play, it'll be like, okay, it'll just fly through. And that's one thing I want to mention is, I mentioned that I'm playing this as a solitaire game, a solo game, and I think that's a fantastic way to play it, because it is a very meaty solitaire game. I'm trying to think of anything I did not mention. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go through the whole gameplay because it's very complex just to talk about it. But, anywho, when you start the game, you're going to draw events, and you're going to set them out, and you also have the ability to cancel an event if you don't want to. That's a terrible example. So this one is going to go to the Mountain of Prof, and this is now the event at the Mountain of Prof. So if you decide to go to the Mountain of Prof, you're going to deal with that, and you're going to have to deal with this, this Goblork, which sounds bad. In order to defeat him, you are going to need 12 shields. So that's really bad. But if you can successfully complete him, then you're going to gain this item, which I'm assuming is really good. And if you're at the Tower of Death, then you'll gain +1 pink, which will help you level up and get more powerful. One other thing I want to mention is these cards, you're like, all right, I don't understand what the point of these colors is. Well, let's say 12 sounds like a very hard number to beat. So what you're going to do is you're going to go there, and let's just say I decide to go there. I go there, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through my hand, and I'm going to try and find a high number to play. I can play a blue, a yellow, a white, or a pink. I can play any number I want. But here's the thing. if you play the corresponding color, so if I played this pink on this pink, I would then get to draw a card into my hand, which can be extremely useful. But for this one, you don't really want to mess around. So I'd probably say, all right, I'm looking right here, I got my 5. Next, you would look over here at your strength, and you'd say, all right, I have 6 strength on pink, so I'm up to 11, and then you're going to draw one more mystery card. You're going to add this to your 11, and if you're higher than 12, or you're at 12, then you succeeded. Look at there, I succeeded. I exactly got 12. Lucky, lucky me, so I would get to discard the event. I would, let's see, it says discard this event and get 1 shield, and then get an item. So I would get the item, and I would gain +1. But you probably aren't going to be able to beat this until the very tail end of the game. Also, the last thing I want to mention that is very, very unique in this game, and I really liked it, is your character is going to become customized. Obviously, you're going to be leveling up these different things. But there's also some cards that will, and events that will allow you to gain the special abilities of the other heroes that aren't in play. So let's just say you complete an event and you get to gain this special ability. How this is, you're going to slide this down here. So in addition to more profit from fighting the shadow guys, you now are going to have the Hobbit's Determination. So each time your character really is going to feel unique. Woo! That was a lot. But that, in a very, very loose nutshell, is how the Adventure of D is played. Alrighty then, The Adventure of D from Jack Darwood Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game's not going to be for everybody. If you're a big art guy and you love the art in games and you bought games just for art, well, Adventure D is going to leave you somewhat desiring more. The artwork looks like it had a lot of effort put into it, but at the same time, it's not the greatest artwork. Also, the game's not going to be for everybody because it is it's mostly a solitaire game. I mean, while you can play up to 4 players, for the most part, you're going to just be racing each other, trying to get your 5 strength and then go win the game. So some people just aren't going to be into the solitaire. Last but not least, the rule booklet is a bit wonky, which I already mentioned in the middle of the video. But the rule booklet's a bit wonky, a bit weirdly worded. But once you figure out how to play the game itself is not too complex. Moving on to the pro side, though. I'm gonna say it. I got this game, The Adventure of D from Jack, and I was like, ooh, I don't know what I think about this game. The artwork turned me off a little bit, and I was like, I don't know. And I opened it up, and I was trying to sort through the rule booklet. But once I figured out how to play this game, I was like, whoa, there is a lot of game in here. There's a lot of really fun game in here. Every single game you play is going to be vastly different. I mean, there's so many different heroes. I mean, I think there's like 16 or something like that. A crazy number of heroes. They all have their own unique special attributes. There's a whole bunch of different monsters. Each time you play, the map is going to be set up different. So every game is going to be vastly different. Another thing I really loved about this game is it's a great solitaire game. This is actually one of my favorite solo games to play because it has more meat to it than the majority of solitaire games you're going to play that are this small. Now, sure, you can go play, like a Robinson Crusoe, and you're going to have to carry around a big box. But this game, I mean, you can put this in your pocket, and this is a lot of meat for a single-player game, which I really did enjoy. It's also good with 2 and 3 players. 4 players, it drags on a little bit too much for my liking. But overall, The Adventure of D is a game I really enjoyed, and I really think you should check out if you were into fantasy games or if you're into solitaire games, because it is a great game. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your time, YouTube.
That was a review for The Adventure of D. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bauer's Game Corner. Also check out BoardGameExchange.com, the nationwide board game rental service.